The anime starts with a young man named Alan, who's on a train heading north. He's writing a letter to his girlfriend Lydia, telling her he's going north after what happened to him, his failure in the Royal Mage exam. He recalls what happened just earlier with the professor, who was disappointed by Alan's failure and didn't expect it at all. The exam turned out to be an obstacle for Alan. The professor asked if Alan had any idea what happened, but Alan was clueless. On top of that, Alan doesn't have the money to go back home to his family, which makes him really sad. The professor thought it was noble of Alan to send money home, but told him he should think of himself too. The professor then offered him an open job. Old friend of his is looking for a tutor for his daughter, but only until spring, with good pay. He asked Alan what he thought and if he wanted to give it a try. Alan was surprised but agreed right away. The professor talked with his friend and told him he'd found the right person, the same young man he always talked about, and that Alan was the smartest student he ever taught. After the call, the professor told Alan that his friend loved the idea. The professor explained Alan would be tutoring his friend's daughter, who is the daughter of Duke Howard, one of the 4 noble houses. Her name is Tina, and she hopes to enter the Royal Academy in the spring. Alan wondered if tutoring a duke's daughter would be hard, and remembered that the last job like this was also for a duke's daughter. The professor showed him the train ticket, already bought it, and Alan would be leaving at noon in a first-class carriage. This annoyed Alan a lot, as he thought the professor was setting him up, but the professor wished him good luck. Alan snaps back to the present, still on his way north by train, and finishes his letter to Lydia. He arrives at the city, where the weather is freezing, and starts looking for Duke Howard's mansion. A man named Graham, the head butler for Duke Howard, shows up to greet him, along with Ellie, a maid in training. Ellie greets Alan, and after everyone introduces themselves, they head to the carriage. Graham mentions that the carriage is small and asks Ellie if she should sit on Alan's lap. This embarrasses Ellie a lot, and Alan refuses too. But Ellie says she doesn't mind, and Graham feels the same. They get into the carriage, and Alan is surprised by the ribbon Ellie is wearing on her head. As they start moving, Alan notices how thick the snow is, but Graham tells him they'll be staying inside for the next few days because of the cold. Alan sees Ellie shivering and gives her his scarf, then offers to use magic to warm up the carriage. Graham agrees, and Alan uses a warming spell, which amazes Ellie. Alan tells her the spell isn't hard once you get used to it. They arrive at Duke Howard's mansion. Graham opens the carriage door for them, but Ellie can't get out, so Alan carries her out, which embarrasses her even more. After he puts her down, he apologizes if he caused any trouble to Her Highness. Ellie is surprised he figured out she's really the Duke's daughter and asks how he knew. Alan explains he noticed at the train station that she didn't look like a maid, clothes didn't suit her, and the white ribbon with gold embroidery is something he's only seen a few times in the royal capital. He guessed no one else would dress up to meet him for the first time, which leaves Ellie really embarrassed, and she rushes off. Graham explains to Alan that Ellie herself wanted to meet him first, and apologizes. They go inside the mansion, which was built to withstand the cold and is very warm inside. Graham calls for the real maid, also named Ellie, to greet Alan. She comes rushing over, nearly falls, but Alan saves her from falling. Graham scolds her for running in the house, as he's told her many times not to, but Alan isn't annoyed and is actually happy she didn't get hurt, and teases her, which makes her very embarrassed. Graham thinks Alan is exactly how the professor described him. Alan asks Graham what the professor said about him, and Graham tells him that the professor said Alan is a natural at handling little girls. Alan denies that, and says he just has some experience dealing with younger people, that's all. Alan then goes to meet Duke Howard in his office, thanks him for accepting him for the job, and introduces himself. Howard welcomes him and says he's talked to the professor, who recommended Alan for the job, and that he looks forward to seeing his work. He is here to teach Tina, his daughter, so she can join the Royal Academy, which shocked Howard. Alan felt he was given wrong information, but Howard asked him to make his daughter give up the idea of ever joining the Royal Academy. Alan asked Howard if he wanted his daughter to reconsider applying, but Howard told Alan a little about the Howard lineage. He told him they knew about the 4 great ducal houses, and that they contributed greatly to founding the kingdom. These houses were granted vast lands in the 4 directions, and each duke protected their land. He also told him that the Howards ruled the north on behalf of the crown for centuries and were proud of it, but that had ended for him. He told him that Tina's mother passed away when Tina was young, leaving him with only his 2 daughters. Stella, the older one, who joined the Royal Academy, but he couldn't claim she was magically gifted and doubted she'd ever master their family's magical legacy. As for Tina, his younger daughter, she had no magical talent at all, possessing mana, but unable to use any magic spell. After being examined by a famous magician, her condition remained unexplained, which surprised Alan with such an unexpected situation. But Howard believed Tina had a strong sense of responsibility, and since she was a a descendant of their house, it was their duty to have her study magic and martial arts at the Royal Academy, even though other paths were available to her. Alan wondered about these paths, but Howard thought it best for Alan to see for himself. They moved to the flower room, where Tina had grown the flowers after reading her late wife's books, and Tina had started studying their growth methods in this land. Howard saw this research as a real asset to the duchy, so he wanted her to continue this research here. Here, Alan understood what the professor had gotten him into, but Howard said Tina had to choose her own path and master magic. Only then could she join the Royal Academy, but would he allow her to do that? Howard told him he would allow it then and made a promise to Alan. Alan told himself that this girl had mana but couldn't use magic, and he saw it as a mystery worth solving. They moved to the dining room, where Howard was celebrating Alan's arrival, and told him it was their custom for servants to eat with them at the same table too. Alan thought this was very good. Ellie and Tina came to them, and Howard asked them to join. They approached Alan, and Howard introduced them to each other. They got to know each other, and Alan told Tina he had met Ellie in the carriage when it was bitterly cold. This greatly embarrassed Tina, and Ellie didn't understand what he was talking about. Tina asked Alan if she could learn many things and had several questions she wanted to ask. Howard asked Alan for something else regarding Ellie, that she be under his supervision. He told him she was Graham's granddaughter and from the Walker family, who had served the Howards since ancient times. Graham agreed to this. Alan wondered, so you want Ellie to join the Royal Academy too? But Ellie showed them she wasn't good at magic at all, and thought she'd be a burden to him. Alan asked Ellie what she wanted to do. She told him she wanted to do what was asked of her. He asked her, do you want to join the Royal Academy? Ellie replied that of course she did, and that she wanted to be with Tina everywhere because she was her personal maid. Alan looked forward to teaching her. The black cat Anko appeared, and they were told it was the pet of the professor who recommended him, which greatly impressed them. The next day, Alan went to Tina's room, entered, and greeted her, but Tina asked him not to call her Your Highness or My Lady, and to call her Tina instead. She also asked him not to lie to her, even if what he said would be hurtful, because she could handle it. Alan agreed to this and said he wouldn't hold back. Before they started studying, he asked her to take a written test today, and told her that the admission test consisted of 3 parts: a written test, a personal interview, and a practical magic exam. They needed to focus on practical magic, but he first wanted to know her readiness for the written test. Tina asked, do they prepare a new written test every year? And said she heard it was very difficult. But Alan denied this, telling her that there were recurring patterns in the Academy's questions, just like any other test, that nobody noticed because the Academy drew them from an archive spanning decades. He gave her a paper with a set of questions and asked her to do her best to solve them. Night fell, and we moved to Alan's room, where he began grading Tina's test. He saw that this girl matched Lydia in intelligence, and that Lydia had been a heavy burden on his shoulders. She was the eldest daughter of Duke Leinster, Protector of the South. Although she was known as Lady of the Sword, she was also academically excellent, graduating from the Royal Academy and University ahead of her class, possessing great magical power, and mastering the Great Phoenix spell. At least academically, Tina matched her. The next day, we moved to the study room, and Alan returned the test to Tina after reviewing it, which made Tina happy because she passed. Alan told her she was qualified for the written test and could pass it, possibly even achieving the highest score. Tina thanked Alan very much, but Alan wanted to reduce the preparation time for the written test and focus on practical magic starting today. He told her she wouldn't know what she could do unless she tried. But Tina tried repeatedly and failed, telling him she had many teachers before him and had disappointed all of them. But Alan knew the feeling she had now because it had happened to him recently, which surprised Tina. She told him that the professor said he was very good and that Lady Lydia had also become famous thanks to him. But Alan told her people gossiped about him because he was the only one who endured Lydia's whims, and that his mana quantity was much lower than the previous year, and they accepted him into the university because they thought he was good at controlling Lydia. Therefore, he knew the Royal Academy was harsh, and the lessons were tough and rigorous, with half the students not graduating on time. Before starting a lesson with her, he asked if she truly wanted to join the Royal Academy and not just because she felt it was her duty. But Tina wanted to join the academy, not out of duty, but because she loved plants. In her childhood, her mother read her a picture book, and she was always fascinated by the great spells used by legends, and greatly wanted to master such spells. But Alan believed no one could use great spells now, but he would try everything he could, and if she had the will and kept progressing, he would find a way. Tina thanked him for trusting her. Ellie came to them carrying a set of candles, and as she approached, she almost fell again, but Alan managed to save her for the second time in a row, using his magic to prevent the candles from falling and successfully placing them on the table. Tina was annoyed by Alan and Ellie's closeness, and told him to move away from her immediately. The lesson began, and Alan asked Tina about the basic magic elements. She told him they were fire, water, wind, and other things too, and everyone was born in natural harmony with one of the 7 elements, which determined their strength or weakness. Alan asked about the Howard family's element. Tina thought they harmonized with water and wind elements and could combine them to use ice magic. Alan asked Tina about the meaning of harmony. He told her he had cast a spell in the carriage to warm it, and that spell combined 3 elements: water, wind, and fire. He told her that water and fire were opposing elements, which went against the theory of harmony, and that this theory was his own, as he didn't believe in a natural element a person was born with. He asked her to use different elements with an open mind and perform spells on these candles using the 7 elements. He asked Ellie which elements she could cast spells with. Ellie could use a little fire and wind. Alan asked Ellie to light the candles, and Ellie succeeded, lighting a candle. Alan asked her again to use wind, and she succeeded in that too, which made Alan happy. He predicted a bright future for her, and was confident she'd be ready for the admission exam, and might even pass with honors, which surprised Ellie. He asked Tina to try now. Tina attempted it, and Alan felt mana moving inside her, but she didn't succeed in lighting the candles and apologized to him. But he didn't want her to apologize, and said he knew she had mana, but he needed to know why her spell wasn't activating. He would give them a demonstration because they would perform this themselves, so they needed to pay attention. He lit the candles with different colored flames, which surprised them. We move to Lydia's house, where she reads Alan's letter, telling her he will stay at Howard's house until spring, and asking her to wish him luck in proving his abilities without encountering problems. Ellen continued teaching them magic, asking why people could use it. Tina replied that people have mana and have mastered its use through research and effort. Ellen looked to the horizon and noted that scientific research had advanced, and the number of magic users increased, but the number of those capable of casting advanced spells decreased year by year. Now, ducal families were synonymous with their extraordinary spells like the Firebird, Ice Wolf, and Capital Dragon, but the number of people who could perform these spells was minimal, and their power was continuously declining. Tina, who had lived 2 centuries of research and reform since the Demon King's War, asked Ellen if he meant these efforts had been in vain, but Ellen clarified that he didn't mean that. Rather, the truth was they had sacrificed quality for quantity. He believed humans' ability to use magic came from the unseen help of elemental spirits, but Tina considered that experiments had disproved this theory, pointing out that fire spells didn't increase in power near volcanoes, where fire spirits were supposedly prevalent. But Ellen had thoughts about how those experiments could be trusted if they couldn't verify the spirit's power, seeing this as an unfair question, though he thought Tina was superior in knowledge. However, Tina thought Ellen was very malicious. Then Ellen told them that elements didn't matter much to spirits, and most magic formulas used today were designed to summon only one element. He asked them, if you were an elemental spirit, would you like to be asked to do the same thing repeatedly? But they didn't think so. So, Ellen was trying to improve his formula by adding spaces to it, and he asked them to try it too, which surprised them. He asked Eily, since she could use fire and wind magic, to use another type of magic. Eily tried, but she couldn't, and felt like a failure. However, Ellen denied that, asking her to calm down and try again. On the second try, she finally succeeded, feeling happy about this achievement, though it was small. After that, it was Tina's turn. Tina tried to use magic, but didn't succeed on the first attempt, and when asked to try again, Tina failed once more, which saddened her. As night fell, Ellen moved to the library and was surprised by the number of books in it. He started looking for a book that could help Tina. While he was searching, Tina arrived with her maid, who warned her not to stay there too long. Tina looked for a specific book and picked it from the shelf, and when she found it, her personal maid spoke with her, telling her she resembled her mother, who also loved reading, but Tina was different from her mother because she couldn't use magic. Then the maid asked Tina about her new teacher, seeing he had a malicious side, but remembered what happened in the carriage when she told her he was very kind. Ellen was listening to their whole conversation. After Tina left for her room, the maid realized Ellen was there, which made Ellen feel awkward about being discovered. The maid introduced herself to him, telling him she was Shelley, the head maid of the house, and that she wanted to ask him for something. Ellen asked her what she wanted, and she told him it was about Tina. She informed him that Tina was a very intelligent and diligent girl, but her previous teachers ignored her efforts, and left simply because she lacked magical ability. She felt pain with each one's departure and cried secretly, but she didn't give up her dream of joining the Royal Academy. She remembered how she was told that Ellen would come to train her, as he was the sword lady's own mind. Shelley then added that he knew Tina admired him and Validia very much. She asked for his help, and Ellen's reply was to reassure her that he was there for that. Then we moved to the next day, where Tina felt angry when she thought Ellen and Eily were on an outing together. Ellen clarified to her that he was picking vegetables with her. Eily was scared of Tina's reaction and asked her what she thought of Ellen and how she could go out with him alone in the morning. But Eily confessed to her that she liked Ellen very much, which pleased Tina but surprised her. Eily explained to her that she loved Ellen after her love for her grandparents, and also after her love for herself, which made Ellen laugh at them. Ellen saw that they were exactly like sisters, but he thought Tina was the older sister, which made her feel conceited. But Eileen was a whole year older than her, yet Tina never admitted that Eileen acted like the older sister. That angered Eileen, and she told her she wouldn't let her sleep next to her again if it thundered, which made Ellen laugh again. Tina and Eileen responded to Ellen that it wasn't funny. They continued their magic training, with Ellen holding Eileen's hand and asking her to feel the inner mana. He asked her if she felt anything, and Eileen felt an intense warmth and the flow of mana through her. Ellen told her she had experienced dark mana. He asked her to use magic after that, but she didn't succeed, so he told her there was no problem, and that failure on the first attempt was normal. Then he asked Tina to try too, but her attempts also failed. Ellen urged her not to let that affect her, and asked her to try something different. Ellen used his magic and showed them a new cat, which amazed them. Ely asked Ellen if she could touch the cat, and even Tina wanted to before, but Ellen asked them not to fight. He showed another cat and gave one to each of them, which brought happiness to everyone. After the day ended, as Ellen was on his way to his room, Graham handed him a special letter. He went to his room, thinking this letter was from Lydia, and she had replied to him quickly. Upon opening the letter, Lydia told him she had received his message and angrily asked him why he went to Howard. She added that if he needed work, he should have come to her. She mentioned that she had met Tina several times and fully understood her situation, and that he would face great difficulty, but she expected he would succeed if he did, though she thought it was completely unlikely. Lydia warned that he shouldn't think about his experience with others, and emphasized that he had hidden something from her regarding the Royal Mage exam, and that he shouldn't do that. But she would see at the Royal Academy exam, and if he ran away, she would chase him to the ends of the earth to tear him apart and burn what was left of him. Then she asked him to write her a letter every week. Then we moved to the teaching room after Ellen finished reading the letter. Tina asked what Lydia wanted from Ellen. Ellen told her that Lydia was upset because he hadn't written to her much, and he saw that Eileen found Lydia's interest in him significant, while Tina thought Lydia felt lonely from Ellen's absence. But Ellen didn't think the reason was as nice as they thought. They continued training, and Eileen succeeded in using magic, but Tina failed again. Here, Ellen was surprised when an ice plane appeared flying upwards. Ellen went to the library again to search for a solution, and told himself that her spells were close to activation, and if he didn't find a solution in modern books, he would turn to old ones. While searching, he noticed a very strange mark, then left the library to find Eileen waiting for him. She moved with them to her room and offered him a drink, and Ellen thanked her and called her Miss Eileen, which bothered her, and she asked him why he called her that. She explained to him that she preferred him to call her informally, and asked him if this was only during training. She discovered he was lying about that, and when he called her by her name, Eileen again, she calmed down. She told him she preferred him to call her that always, but Ellen felt she shouldn't let a strange man into her room at night, but she saw no problem with it. Then she told him that her grandparents had recently called her and told her how much they loved her, and hugged her tightly, which surprised her and made her ask why. They told her they had talked about her, and Ellen gave her a small piece of advice, reminding her of what he had discussed with Shelley about her strong ability and great talent. But Ellen felt it was difficult for him to utilize this properly, so he wanted her to tell them how much they meant to her, because having a loving family was her greatest support. Ellen returned to the present and told Ely that he had a family that supported him in many situations. Ely told him that her father died when she was young, and she moved to live here with the Howard family. She still remembered the day she arrived at this house, and imagined white snow and a girl trying to catch up with her wherever she went. Tina had recently experienced the loss of her mother, which made her anxious. She and Eileen were of the same mold, and she was afraid because she was the heiress of the Walker family, but none of her actions were successful. Before she knew it, Tina had surpassed her by stages at the academy, and she feared there would be no place for her. She encouraged herself and asked Mr. Howard to allow her to enter the Royal Academy. Ellen saw this as mere courage from her, because she wanted to make a path for herself, and also that she was talented. He asked her to be confident, which excited her. The next day, Ely used her magic powerfully and succeeded, which saddened Tina. Ellen asked her about Eileen's use of the other elements, but Eileen was afraid of lightning and light. She told him that Inko helped her in the dark, and she thought she would master it soon. Then Ellen asked Tina to step forward and try magic, but she didn't succeed at all. She wondered why this was happening to her, but Ellen reassured them that they had time, and they would try a different spell formula. After that, Ellen went to Howard and told him that Tina's mana reserves were enormous, but he couldn't guarantee her readiness to pass the exam. Howard thought he should dissuade her from applying, but Ellen believed this was wrong, and emphasized that he shouldn't incite her against it if she genuinely wished to join. He explained that even if she was unable to use magic, the Academy would consider her academic brilliance. Howard was aware of this, but he knew that aristocratic society didn't make things easy, and he understood very well that a girl from the Howard family without magic would be a target for fools at the academy. He didn't want his daughter to suffer as he himself had. He told Ellen that if her situation didn't change, he should do what he asked of him. Ellen objected to this, but Howard begged him to do it. Then we moved to the training room, where Tina was trying to use her power but failing. Ellen came to her and offered to participate in her training. She asked him if he minded, and he replied that he didn't mind at all. He asked her to continue, but Tina kept trying repeatedly without success. After that, Ellen went to his room, trying to find a solution to Tina's problem, but he found no flaw in her formula. He wondered why it wasn't reacting. He drew many magic circles on paper and was still thinking of a solution. The next day, Ellen woke up and thought he was late, and that he hadn't rested well due to staying up late. He went to the training room, where Tina was sleeping. When she woke up, she saw Ellen sitting in front of her and apologized to him if she had caused him to wake up. She looked at the book in his hand and asked him if he was reading it for her, but he denied it and told her he was interested in it. But Tina discovered he was lying, and that he had learned to stay up late at night to read this book, and that he hadn't come for breakfast that morning because of it. She asked him how many books he had read for her, and how he had practiced various spells with her daily, and helped her train at night too. Ellen asked her not to worry about it because he loved reading and enjoyed modifying formulas. He told her that he had uncharacteristically dozed off that morning, which made her feel that he wasn't angry with her and wasn't blaming her. And although she was unable to cast any spells, she expressed her feelings and asked him to forgive her. Tina cried a lot because she couldn't bear it anymore. She told him that she loved and respected him, and that she loved Ailey very much as well. Whenever he praised her and saw her progress, she became aware of the negative feelings inside him, and suddenly, Tina displayed great icy power that almost harmed Ellen. Fortunately, Ailey came, but Ellen asked her not to intervene in the room. Elin requested Eli to go and bring Mr. Graham, then used his spell to stop the ice storm but failed. He couldn't penetrate it, and felt something choking him, with no choice but to summon his resolve, even though he didn't want to do this again. He called out to Tina, asking her to respond if she could hear him. We shift to Tina, caught between the ice wall, listening to Ellen's voice, wondering what was happening to him. Elin told her that his energy was raging right now, and if it continued like this, he would run out and die. Tina asked what she should do. Elin replied that he would link his energy with hers to control it, admitting it was uncomfortable but asking her to allow him to do it. Elin used his power to connect their energies, risking his life for this because Tina had trusted him. He began searching for her until he found her, struggling with the connection, and discovering a massive amount of mana energy from her. He realized her potential matched Lydia's, perhaps exceeding it. Then Ellen heard Tina muttering to herself, questioning why she couldn't use magic, feeling like a cursed, useless child. Tina's thoughts flooded into Ellen's mind as he called out to her. An ice dragon appeared behind Tina, revealing she was trying to help him amid the storm. It was the right moment for Ellen to use his power. He unleashed a firebird and succeeded in melting the ice to reveal Tina. Elin approached her and hugged her, feeling reassured that she was okay. Looking up, he saw the dragon fading away. Before it disappeared, it told him he had met one last key, which puzzled Ellen, and he asked Tina if she had heard or seen anything in the storm. She hadn't heard anything but mentioned feeling strange due to their connection. Elin forgot they were still linked and detached their bond, nearly rushing to get Eli since she was worried about them. However, Tina asked him to wait with her and keep hugging her, mentioning that he was her only teacher. Elin complied. Soon, Eli arrived with Graham to check on Tina and Elin. Eli was happy for Tina. Elin remembered Lydia's advice not to try this with anyone else and told himself he should think of a good excuse for her. He lost consciousness and was about to collapse, but Graham supported him. Next, we moved to Ellen's room, where Tina and Ellen were worried about him. Eli went to fetch him tea. Tina asked if what happened to him was due to their bond. Ellen reassured her not to worry, but it was surprising since, when he bonded with someone, he couldn't help but share his thoughts and feelings with them. Tina then told him she heard him when he called her Princess Poison, and got very upset, demanding an explanation immediately because she had asked him not to call her that again. Elin tried to divert the issue, telling her he had some insights regarding this ability, explaining that he could manipulate the mana of the person he was bonded with, and that his will affected the amount of mana they could use. After creating a link with someone, it became easy to reconnect later. Tina asked Ellen if he had done something like this before. Of course, Ellen had connected his mana with his sister Karen. Tina inquired if he had done this with Lydia. He confirmed this, stating he had no other choice at the time. He explained that binding magic energy meant holding someone else's life in his hands, which could be dangerous as it allowed him to use their energy as he wished. He requested her to keep this a secret between them, which surprised her since he was sharing a secret. Elin also asked her not to tell anyone, even Eli. As night fell, Elin began exploring the issue within Tina, realizing he needed to investigate it thoroughly. They moved to a new training area for magic, and Elin was very impressed with the place. He asked Tina to try her magic strength in this new environment. Tina approached the candles to ignite them, but she displayed an immense power from her body after successfully showing her strength, leaving everyone astonished. Elin wondered if what was inside Tina affected the outcomes. He remembered the dragon and thought it no longer hampered her spells. Perhaps due to their magic linkage, something slipped from his control over the magic to her. Elin approached Tina, encouraging her, stating they would start working on how to control the strength of spells now. Tina hugged Elin and cried, thrilled that she could use magic. Elin told her effort wasn't in vain and called her an amazing girl. Eli felt happiness for Tina too and cried a lot for her. Tina thanked her for this. Elin observed that with a bit more training, Tina would be able to control her magic much more freely, and when they reached this stage, both would be ready for the Royal Academy. He planned to inform Walter about this, but Graham reminded him that Walter was on a mission and wouldn't return soon. Ellen thought Walter might be glad to hear this news once he informed him, and missed sharing it. Next, Ellen went to his room and wrote a letter to the professor. We shift to the professor receiving the letter in his office when one of Ellen's friends came to inquire about him. The professor informed him he just received a letter from Ellen, describing it as the 6th letter that drowned him in debts due to gambling, which made Ellen's friend laugh since that was typical Ellen. However, the professor thought it was the 5th and needed to correct this. Then Ellen's friend leaned in to read the letter with him. It told him that Tina had succeeded in using her magic and casting spells, asking for military-grade ice resistance magic scrolls as soon as possible, lest his beloved student becomes an ice statue before he sees her again. Ellen's friend thought he was enjoying himself, but the professor saw that this transfer of military supplies wasn't easy. However, who would expect Ellen to succeed in showcasing the power of the little princess, as it was typical of him? We then shift back to Ellen's room, where he continued studying books but hadn't found a thread pointing to anything until he opened the next book and recognized the same symbol he had seen before. He began thinking about this symbol again. Next, at the training room, Elin asked Eli to ignite the candles using dark magic. Eli tried but failed. Nonetheless, Elin didn't lose faith in her and asked her to create a complete image in her mind of darkness to succeed. He told her to remember how she felt when she touched Anko. Then she looked at Anko, and afterwards, she released her magic and managed to light the candles, which motivated Elin. He then asked Tina to also try, and she stepped forward, finding encouragement from Eli. Tina attempted to use her magic power, but she displayed an enormous force. Elin asked her to use her mind to control it as well. Elin mentioned that since Eli was making steady progress, they should shift to combat training, which made Tina feel jealous again about Elin's treatment of Eli. However, Eli saw that Elin was very kind, but Tina asked him to be kinder to her too. Elin believed there was no room for pampering in magic training, but Tina felt this was unfair and protested firmly. Elin told her no girl should destroy the ceiling every time she used her magic. She needed to rein it in. Tina insisted she needed him because she didn't get enough of it, which she considered a failure on her teacher's part. Elin thought to himself that she now resembled someone he knew, and remembered he hadn't received a letter from her in a while, wondering what she was doing. He recalled Lydia, and then Tina asked Ellen if he had been daydreaming just now. Hadn't he? Eli asked Ellen what he was thinking about. Tina urged him to tell them. They grabbed his attention. Elin recalled Graham telling him he had a natural talent for dealing with young women, which he immediately denied. Then Eli began using offensive magic and started launching strikes at Graham, who dodged all her attacks. Elin was taken aback, noting there weren't any unnecessary movements. Tina explained to him that the Walker family trained every day to sharpen their service at home. Graham then started launching strikes at Eli, but she countered them skillfully, making Elin proud of her, urging her to keep going. Elin told Tina it was her turn. Tina advanced to ignite the candles and nearly succeeded in lowering her power, but the task was quite challenging for her. Next, we moved to Graham's room, where he was impressed by Tina's progress, especially hers. He was very grateful to Ellen for this. However, Ellen felt the credit went to them and their efforts. He asked Graham if he would meet Walter soon. Graham responded that Walter had many engagements, but Elin sensed that with this communication breakdown, he thought he was avoiding him. Elin then asked Graham how he thought Walter felt when he learned Tina was learning magic. Graham shared everything he could say. Then, Elin Graham asked another question. Regarding the books in the archive, he found several books with the same mark on the last page and asked if he knew who they belonged to, but Graham didn't know. Then we moved to Elin's room, and he began reading the books with the mark, and Tina's magic might lie within them. He remembered the dragon again and asked himself, what did he mean by the key, and wondered if he was referring to Tina. It couldn't be him. He's just an ordinary layman. Then Tina and Eli came to them, and Tina told Elin that Eli couldn't sleep. But Eli revealed Tina's lie because she was the one who went to her room and told her that she was afraid of the book she was reading, so she couldn't sleep. but Elin asked them to go to their rooms and they should sleep so that it would not affect their training, but they did not want this and stayed in his room. Elin offered them hot drinks, which made them admire him very much. Elin asked them not to make any noise so that he could continue his research. Then Elin discovered that all the books that bear the same mark have something in common. Then he looked behind him and saw Tina and Eli had Elin asleep. This made him even more excited to get them to join the Royal Academy together. Then we moved to the training hall, and Graham told Elin that Walter wanted to meet him. Elin agreed immediately and asked Tina and Eli to take a rest. Then we moved to Walter's office. Walter told Elin that he had decided that Tina would not advance to the entrance exam, but Elin assured Walter that Tina would pass the entrance exam with excellence. But Walter tried to tell Elin that he had nothing to do with it anymore, and that he did not want Tina to be a burden on anyone inside the academy, which made Elin angry to hear this. He told him that he hadn't seen anything yet, and that the matter was no longer his alone, and that Tina's mother, Princess Rosa, also had her own wishes. Walter asked Elin how a stranger like him knew what his wife wanted, but Elin, with a single look in their archive, was able to know that the books that deal with ice magic bear the same owner's mark, which is the mark of Princess Rosa. She must have hoped to help Tina develop her magical talent, and had faith that if she could not do it, someone would do it on her behalf. He showed him the book as proof of this, and the mark is the biggest evidence of this, which led to Walter's shock. After that, he asked Walter to reconsider his decision, and as for his rudeness, he was ready for punishment. But Walter asked him to raise his head, that he was too kind. But Elin doesn't want Tina to give up her dream. Then Walter agreed, but on one condition. Then Elin moved to the training hall and told them that if they succeeded in the final test, Walter would allow them to apply for the Royal Academy test. Tina wondered what would happen in the final test. Elin told her that Walter wanted to test their abilities himself, but he was busy, so he will appoint a skilled magician to fight you on his behalf, which made them afraid of this. But Elin asked them not to worry, and that he was completely confident that they would succeed because he was proud of them as his students, which made them feel very embarrassed, and they were very grateful to him. They began training in close combat in the training hall. Ellie directed several blows at Elin, but he managed to evade them. Then, the two cooperated, and Ellie cast a spell on Elin, but he dodged it. However, he couldn't avoid Tina's strike, and Tina successfully caught him, believing she would win today. But Ellie was annoyed that she was thinking to herself and that they would win together. While preoccupied, they forgot their opponent, and Elin managed to break free. He told them not to lose sight of their opponent, no matter what happened. Then, Tina and Ellie used spells and cast them at Elin. At the same time, Elin was prepared for them, causing their spells to collide, which resulted in a large cloud of smoke filling the room, making it difficult for them to see. Then, Elin used his power and conjured 2 balls of water above them, which cleared the smoke. He told them they had lost, then approached them and praised Tina's trap. He told Ellie that she had become more skilled than before, but they still had much to learn. He also told them that they would face a wizard in their final test, chosen by Duke Walter himself, and that he might use advanced spells against them. They had to face him with all their might. He asked Tina to continue working on controlling her power because there wasn't much time left until the exam, and he would be by their side throughout this time to teach them everything they needed. But today was enough for training. Then, Ellie and Tina went to wash up. Tina enjoyed washing up immediately after training. Tina asked Ellie if they could win the final test, since their exam was imminent, but Ellie didn't know. However, Tina expected Ellie to do well because of Graham and Shelley's training, but Ellie explained to her that any maid from Howard should experience this. They found her amazing too, but Tina thought Ellen was the amazing one, and she couldn't let him down, and Ellie shouldn't either. Then, they held each other, and Tina promised Ellie that they would go to the academy together, but Ellie lost consciousness, causing Tina to worry about her. Then, they moved to Ellen's room, and he examined Ellie and discovered that she had stayed in the bathroom too long and become dizzy. Then, Ellen also cast a spell on Tina because it's used to dry hair, and he used to use it a lot in the past. But the two wondered at the same time, who did you use it on? Elin told them that he used it on his sister, Karen. He told them that she would be their colleague at the academy and was studying there at a higher level. Then, they went to the training hall again, and he asked them to start hitting him again. Then, Ellie cast a powerful spell on him, but he blocked it. On the other side, he blocked an ice arrow from Tina, but Tina didn't stop and conjured magical circles and cast a large number of arrows at him, but he dodged some of them and blocked the rest. While he was preoccupied with Tina's attacks, Ellie appeared above him, aiming a blow at him, but he dodged that too. She then tried to restrain him, but he received an arrow from Tina, and she succeeded in hitting him. Ellen told them, "Well done," which made them happy. Then, they approached him and asked him to continue training, but Elin wanted to end the training because their final exam was tomorrow, and they needed to conserve some energy for it. Then night fell, and Ellen went to the library again and continued searching for books. He said to himself that another book wouldn't bring him closer to revealing what he had seen then. He remembered what he had seen before again. Then, Tina appeared behind him, and he asked her what brought her here at this time of night. But Tina couldn't sleep, so she decided to visit her plants to lift her spirits and saw the light on. Then, she asked him if she didn't succeed tomorrow, she wouldn't be able to go to the Royal Academy, but Elin was confident that things wouldn't come to that and that she and Ellie would succeed. Then, Tina asked Elin to listen to her a little. When he agreed, she told him that when she was little, she used to ask her mother to read her the book of pictures and talk to her. This is why she loves myths and their great spells. She saw her images in this book, and these images were of the little bird, the flaming lion, and the glacier bird that froze everything. It was an extinct bird that took the form of a crane. At the time, she thought the great spells were real, so she wanted to go to the royal capital. This was the story her mother left her, and she wanted to prove it was real. She told him that he was the first person she had told this to. Then, Elin thanked her for her trust. Then, he picked up a book and asked her if she wanted to take a look at it. Then, Tina picked up the book and began to look at it intently. Elin told her that every book has the royal seal on the last page. Elin didn't know Tina's mother personally, but looking at the notes she left, he discovered how important she was to the children who lived after her. He also told her that the formulas he teaches her are taken from these notes with some modifications from him. Then, he closed the book, and she hugged Elin. Then, she promised him that she would win tomorrow and go to the Royal Academy. The next day, Tina and Ellie met, and they were feeling anxious, but Elin appeared to them and asked them not to worry, telling them that they would definitely win. Then, they entered, and Shelley was waiting for them. She asked Elin to go to the platform because he was not allowed to enter, and Elin was aware of this. Then, Shelley gave Tina something wrapped. When Tina opened it, she found a staff. Shelley told her that this staff belonged to her mother, Rosa, and that she had left it in her care and asked her to hand it over to Tina when she learned magic. This caused Tina to be amazed, but her confidence increased, and now there was nothing to fear. This made Shelley happy that she had handed over the staff and fulfilled her duty to Rosa. Then, Ellie approached Shelley. Then, Shelley asked Ellie to do her best and to have a lot of confidence in herself. Then, Tina asked Ellie to go, and they told Elin that they would use everything he had taught them. Elin wished them success. Then, we moved to the arena, and Graham told them that this gentleman would be their opponent. The opponent was Walter, but he was hidden. Elin discovered that this mask was a perception-blocking spell. The opponent told the girls that if they wanted to enter the Royal Academy, they had to defeat him. He asked them to face him with all their energy. Then, they launched a barrier, and Graham asked them to begin. Then, Walter attacked, but Ellie directed a blow at him, which pushed him away. But he attacked again and succeeded in grabbing her and throwing her away. But while Ellie was flying in the air, she succeeded in casting a spell and controlling Walter, freezing him in the ground, which made Shelley proud of her. After that, Tina surrounded Walter with a set of magical circles and launched ice arrows at him, but he was not affected. Then, Tina used her magic staff and restrained Walter, but he broke free immediately. Then, Walter attacked Tina, but Ellie pushed Tina away from this deadly blow. While he was about to attack them again, Ellie succeeded in immobilizing him, and Tina cast an ice arrow at him, but he blocked it. But they were able to surround him with a vortex of black fog. Then, they took advantage of the fact that Walter was unable to see and launched a double attack at him, but Walter was unharmed. Walter told them that he was proud of their skill and created a very large spell. Elin saw that it was an advanced spell of dual ice pillars, which caused Ellie to become very nervous and unable to use her magic. But Tina told her to calm down and that they would do as Elin had taught them. Elin encouraged them. Then, the two used their magic, ready for Walter's strike. Walter directed a blow at them, but Tina blocked it by sending fireballs. Also, Tina used ice arrows, and they succeeded in countering it. Elin was amazed by Tina's countering this blow and using a spell he hadn't taught her. Shelley was also proud of Tina. Tina saw that they were now ready for the academy tests and asked him to admit defeat, but Walter didn't think they would reach this stage. Ellie asked Walter to surrender because there was no point in trying with them, but Walter didn't stop attacking and used a very powerful spell. Elin believed that the barrier couldn't withstand this spell and asked everyone to leave so that they wouldn't be harmed. He also asked this of Shelley. Then, Elin went down to the battlefield and asked Graham to take over as referee in his place. Graham expected this to be very dangerous. Elin knew this, but he was used to it, whether it was good or bad. Then, Walter scolded the girls and asked them, "Didn't your teacher teach you to attack when the opportunity arises?" Tina was surprised and thought that only her father could use this spell. Ellie wondered how they could face this, but she didn't despair and would find a way, because they were students of Master Elin. Tina thought this too. They said that they would win and go to the academy together. Then, Walter conjured the Blizzard Wolf. Elin believed that this was the supreme spell of the Howard House. Elin gave Graham inverse barriers and asked them to set up a second barrier outside in case of an emergency. Then Elin approached the girls, but they refused his coming so as not to be harmed. Then Elin remembered what he had told her when he wanted her to use two types of magic at the same time, and she did that, which led to the wolf feeling pain but not being significantly affected. Then Tina recalled Ellen's encouragement, and she succeeded in freezing the wolf. But Walter did not stop either, and he he released the wolf's restraints and told them that if they wanted to resist, they must cast a spell of their own against him. Then the wolf roared at them, causing them to fall to the ground, but they were not totally affected. Then Ellen asked Tina to use the Storm Wolf spell, and she had not practiced it, but he asked her to try. Tina thought this was impossible, but Ellen told her she could and asked Ely to support her. Then Ely held the staff with Tina, and they showed the magical circle. Walter attacked them with his wolf, and they also successfully summoned their own wolf. The wolves collided with each other, and Walter was surprised, but knew they were beginners in this matter. He attacked again, but there was a barrier blocking his wolf. The wolves roared at each other, and Walter asked them, "Is this all you have?" But Tina told him they could continue, and they continued attacking. Tina untied a strand of her hair and tied it to the staff, as her mother had told her to do when taking things seriously. She then asked her mother to give her strength, and asked Ely to put in all her effort. Her mother's power appeared and delivered another strong blow, which eliminated Walter's wolf, broke his mask, and showed great ice power that penetrated the battle room and reached the sky, leaving everyone astonished. They then moved to the train station to go to the royal capital. Graham asked Ely to listen to Elin, and then approached Walter. Shelley asked about his wounds, but he was fine. Tina apologized to her father, who was very impressed with her test and almost thought she was Rosa. He told her he was sorry about everything and was afraid of losing her because he couldn't bear the thought. Tina hugged him, but he felt pain from his wounds. She then told him she was leaving and asked him to take care of the plants in her absence. Walter agreed. Ely told Tina the train was about to depart, and she immediately boarded with her. Ely asked Tina if she had forgotten anything, but Tina was well prepared. Walter realized it was a father's duty to send his daughter to a wider world, and his wife would have wanted this for her. He approached Ellen and told him he trusted him, but Walter and Graham warned him not to touch any of their daughters. After Elin boarded, he told them he would be waiting for them in the royal capital, and the train began to move.